once you have entered this space which you call as human, from here your evolution is no more natural. It has to be conscious. If you don't become conscious, there will not be any progress from here onwards. Monkeys can progress, man cannot progress. He can only progress consciously. Somewhere, nature trusted your intelligence. Nature believed that with the intelligence that you have, anyway you will choose the higher, not the lower. But you've been trying to beat nature's trust, but it's not possible. Doesn't matter how many ways you indulge yourself, somewhere something longs for something bigger, isn't it? Yes? You fill yourself with wealth and filth and everything, but still the longing is not gone. So, when the longing becomes unbearable, you seek. When you seek, can't you seek that which is within yourself by yourself? You can, but it's an uncharted path. Because it's an uncharted path, if you go by yourself, you know what happened to Columbus? He wanted to come to India and landed up here. It was an uncharted path, isn't it? Simply by accident he landed in this continent. We are only hearing about those who landed somewhere. Do you know how many never landed anywhere? Yes? Thousands of sailors who set forth never landed anywhere. If you go on an uncharted path without any guidance, this is what will happen. Now that Columbus landed here, just see how easy it is from Europe to America. Why? Now it's a charted path because of that man, isn't it? Similarly, you go to your guru because he landed. Now, using his experience is a good thing. Can't I do it by myself? You can, but we don't know how many lifetimes you will take by yourself. Not that it's impossible, you may just do it in a moment also, you know. You may just land up there, we don't know. But 99% of the people will just get lost and washed away. That's why a guru has come. A guru is just a device. Guru is not a person, this must be understood. Only when you begin to experience me as something more than a person, only then I am your guru, till then I am not. So it's significant reminder for us, for every human being on the planet, because everybody lives in their own limitations of body, mind, social structures and strictures, all kinds of things. It is for every human being, it's important to know that there is a way to be beyond these things. That's the reminder.
So Sadhguru, when we went to the Dhyana Lingam, here's what I've noticed, both at the course that I did with you, there was, and the Dhyana Lingam, the more people see you, even from a distance, there's a sudden outpouring of love, complete outpouring of love. So let's talk about love. This is one kind of a love. What happens? Is there something, is it a release? That could be one thing, with the CU and their own stresses and emotional release. On the other hand, is there some kind of energy that you're transmitting to them? Is that energy possible only in a loving relationship, even between you and the people or between people themselves? What is that energy called love? And then let's relate it to man and woman, because that's the love most of us know. Love or hate, whichever you like it. But let's talk about love, or the energy that is love.
There is no such thing as an energy that is love. Life is a certain energy. You are a certain life energy. The many parts of this life energy is finding expression as thought, as body, physical action, emotion, and there are other dimensions, of course, energy action. If you can perform only physical activity in your life, the span and the scope of that activity is very limited. Because you empower your physical activity with your mental activity, depending upon the keenness and the intensity of your mental activity, your physical activity takes on a different level of… as if it moves into a different dimension because the mental activity. If you make a movie, if it's all physical, it's one way. There is a certain intellect involved in it, it's another way. There's a certain emotion involved in it, it's another way, isn't it so? So that's so with life also. So, these are different levels of intensity. Physical is at one level of intensity, intellectual is another level of intensity, emotion is a different level of intensity. Generally, people are looking down upon emotion as something less than intellect, which is a very wrong thing they're doing. Which I think slowly people are realizing they're talking about emotional intelligence now. Because emotion is capable of being of a higher intensity than intellect in many ways. Intellect has a certain coolness, intellect has a certain penetration, but emotion can just embrace everything. Intellect can know pieces of life, emotion can know the wholeness of life. So this is the reason why spiritual traditions always have made devotion the biggest thing, because a devotee looks like a fool to an intellectual person. But what a devotee knows in terms of life's experience and what he knows in terms of perception of life in its totality, an intellectual person will never touch. So a devotee looks like a fool, but the real fool is elsewhere. So right now what's happening here when people are around me is neither intellect nor emotion nor body. It's another dimension, which is just pure reverberation of energy. If I reverberate in a certain way, some people will roll their eyeballs upward and simply sit there. Some people will cry, some people will laugh, some people feel that they realize so many things being there in that space. This is their expression of it. This is like, if I give you electric connection, somebody makes light out of it, somebody makes sound out of it, somebody makes coolness out of it, somebody makes heat out of it. Different gadgets are making different things out of the same electricity. So my thing is just to exude that energy. Somebody makes love out of it, somebody makes alertness out of it, somebody makes awareness out of it, somebody makes meditativeness out of it. That's left to that individual depending upon his level of evolution and his receptivity as to how he is. So am I creating a love energy? There's no such thing as love energy, there's just life energy. There is only life energy. Love is just one expression of life. Intellect is another expression of life. Physical action, another expression of life. Awareness, another expression of life. So life can find million forms of expression, but people eulogizing one over the other is a huge mistake. All of them are needed. Love without the needed awareness and balance is going to be horribly burdensome, isn't it? So, these days it's become a fashion to talk like this, love is the core of the universe. Love is a human emotion. It's got nothing to do with the universe. Love is the sweetness of your emotion. Let me put it this way. See, if your physical body becomes pleasant, we call this health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If your mental structure becomes pleasant, we call this peace. Becomes very pleasant, we call this joy. If your emotional structure becomes pleasant, we call this love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion or devotion. If your very energy becomes very pleasant, we call this bliss. If it becomes extremely pleasant, we call it ecstasy. This is all that's happening. So when I walk in, there are certain people who become ecstatic. There are some people who become loving. There are certain people who become aware and meditative. But it's their doing. It's their gadgetry is like that. All I am doing is exuding life energy with utmost intensity.
In the space that you're in now, when you're with people, is it exuding out unintentionally now, it's just exuding out, or do you give…
Unintentionally, a certain amount of it is happening unintentionally because of the nature of who you are. But when you're in certain situations, it's intentional. Because people come to you only because they can benefit from you. So if you don't offer that benefit, that's being callous to their needs.
Okay, so the gesture you just did, tell me about this, because everybody comes, I do that, everybody else does that. Is that… tell me about this gesture. Is it a more receptive gesture or is it just a cultural thing?
See, there are many aspects to this. One thing is, neurologically, today we know that there are lots of nerve endings in your palms. Actually, your hands are speaking more than your tongue and your voice, actually. So there's a whole science of mudras in yoga. Just by holding your hand in different ways, you can make the whole system function in different ways. I think we have done the experiment with you, holding it this way, holding it that way. It makes… you have already seen people sitting like this, these kind of mudras, those kind of mudras, because hand can do wonderful things to the system. So this is a certain mudra, you can say. This is known as namaste or namaskar. It is a certain mudra. The moment you place your hands together like this, your dualities are sort of… your likes and dislikes, your dualities, your cravings and aversions, all these things are leveled out. There is a certain oneness to your expression of who you are. When you do this, the energies are in a certain level of… it doesn't function diversely, it functions as one. That's one aspect. And the reason why you're doing this is when you see a person, this is the greeting in India, is… see, if I look at your body, I may like you, I may dislike you. If I look at your mind, again I may like you, dislike you. If I look at your emotional structure, I may like you or dislike you. So when I meet a person, I do not want to get entangled with these likes and dislikes. I do not want to get entangled with that being. The only intention of meeting a human being is either you can enhance his life or he can enhance your life. Or both of us are enhancing each other's life. Otherwise the people need not meet. It's better they're alone, isn't it?
Yes.
In some way you can enhance another human being's life, or you benefit another human being's… from another human being's life, it's worth meeting. Otherwise, it's better people are by themselves, they don't have to meet. And that's how the spiritual structures are. You're an ascetic, you don't want to meet anybody because you're into certain kind of things yourself. If you feel you can benefit by being with somebody, or they can benefit by being with you, you allow this. Otherwise, don't bother. You are not in compulsive need of company. Only those people who feel terribly alone or lonely when they're alone, they are in a compulsive need of company. So if you're feeling lonely when you're alone, it means you're in bad company, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy the company of this person, obviously you're in bad company. So you're looking for better company.
Sadhguru, in terms of the love that we know most and most talked about, and many, many books are written about it. And the largest discussed thing in this world is relationships. So let's just take one relationship that is causing more angst than anything else, is a man-woman love. Tell me about the nature of that, and why does it cause that much angst? And is there a potential spiritual dimension to the nature of a man-woman love? We've talked about feminine, masculine, male, female. Is there something we can find in a marriage that takes it beyond the stresses and strains of an everyday practical marriage?
See, there is no such thing as man-dog love, man-woman love, man-mother love, man-son love, man-daughter love. There is no such thing. Love is just a certain sweetness of emotion. How you're arriving at it is the only question, isn't it? The method.
Yeah.
Now, we were looking at this, we do this because when you see a person, if you see body, mind, emotion, this, that, you tend to like, dislike, get entangled, all these things. So first thing is, when you meet a person, you identify his ultimate nature. There is a source of creation within him, that's why he is created. So the very source of creation within him, first you bow down to that. You're trying to establish a relationship with that because that's your aspiration with yourself also. You're repeatedly asking, who am I? So you're trying to find that answer everywhere. First thing, if you see whether that experience is there or not, you're cultivating the direction towards that. When I see you, I can say hi. Instead of that, I do this. Because first thing is, you refer to the source of creation in the person, then maybe we'll interact on different levels. If we like the intellect of the person, we talk to that. If we like the emotion of the person, we hug them. If we… if it's physical, it goes in a different direction, whatever. So the man-woman thing is a compulsive love affair. Nature is pushing you towards each other because nature is interested in only one thing, to perpetuating herself. If it somehow doesn't put a man-woman together, you and me wouldn't be here. So whether they love each other or not, that's not the question, they have to come together somehow, otherwise you and me wouldn't be born. So this is a compulsive need. This need is throwing people together to experience some sense of oneness. This is one love affair chemically supported by nature.
Okay.
All the other love affairs are not chemically supported by nature, it is just yours. But this is one love affair which is chemically supported by nature. For most of these love affairs, unfortunately, once the chemistry runs out, they wonder why the hell are they together. So before the chemistry runs out, you are supposed to establish a different level of conscious love affair, which is beyond the chemistry. If that doesn't happen, it turns ugly.
So what is that love affair that is a conscious love affair? Let's talk about that. And let's take it further. Is there a potential spiritual dimension to it? I'm not saying there has to be. Is there a potentially? But let's first say, when the chemicals don't react anymore, what reacts? What works? What makes it work?
See, chemistry is of the body,
Yeah.
okay? The bodily chemistry plays up certain things according to its needs. The moment the need is satisfied, you wonder, why the hell are you here?
Yeah.
Okay? So, that is a very different kind of thing. That is nature's trick. You are… 10, 11 years of age, the world was everything fine with it. Suddenly, your intelligence got hijacked by your hormones. Suddenly the whole world looks different, all of a sudden. So all that's happened is, your intelligence got hijacked by the hormones. The chemistry has hijacked you. Very, very few individuals have the necessary awareness to look beyond that at life. Everybody else get flooded by this process. By the time they recover, usually it's too late. Not necessarily. So is it something wrong or right? There's nothing wrong or right, it's just limited, that's all. Is being limited a crime? No. But the nature of the human being is such, he suffers limitations. He doesn't like it. So what you're referring to as love is basically the sweetness of your emotion. You sit here, you could feel love about somebody who is not even here. So it's got nothing to do with anybody. It is just the sweetness of your emotion. Now is your love affair, your ability to love, is it on self-start or is it on push-start? Do you have to push around to be loving or can you be just loving by yourself? That's a question. If you look at this carefully, naturally your innermost longing is to be free of every human being on the planet, to free of everything, so that you can be just the way you want to be. But right now, socially, we have attached ourselves to all these things because we think that's the only way it works. That is the way it has worked for a lot of people, because a lot of people are only have to be pushed, only then something happens to them. It is a rudimentary technology. If your car has to be pushed every day, today we consider it a rudimentary technology, isn't it? Maybe 50, 60 years ago, a push-start car was quite okay. As long as it starts, it was okay. But not anymore. So, once a human being becomes more and more aware of his own nature, he understands to experience love, to experience blissfulness, to experience ecstasy, even to experience orgasmic ways of life, you don't need anybody actually. If you just sit here, you can make it happen within yourself. Because after all, it's your body, it's your mind, it's your emotion, it's your chemistry, and you are the one who is creating all the experiences of your life. Because people are not conscious of this, that you are the maker of your life, you are the one who is doing your life the way you want it. Most people still believe that their experiences are being shaped by people and situations around them, but that's not true. Human experiences are 100% self-created, 100%. So if it's self-created, right now if you sit here, would you choose to maintain sweetness of your mind, sweetness of your body, sweetness of your emotion, sweetness of your energy, or would you like something bitter?
Yeah, I'd prefer sweetness.
Sweetness. So you would naturally be loving. It doesn't take anybody. So a relationship, when you see a man and a woman, you're talking about a relationship. Because there are other aspects to it. There may be a social angle to it, there may be a physical angle to it, there may be a psychological angle to it, there may be an economic angle to it, the variety of other things to fulfill in a relationship. We form relationships with variety of people in our lives. You have business relationships, you have personal relationships, you have professional relationships. So, relationships we form basically to fulfill different types of needs or to fulfill somebody else's needs, whichever way it is. That is a relationship. But what you refer to as love is just the sweetness of your emotion. You can use another person to stimulate that within you, or you can be on self-start mechanism.
But it's possible for two people together, if they've been together beyond the chemistry, or the chemical or the hormones, to be starters for each other and continue that relationship. I mean, do you see value in that? Do you see value in people staying together for so long? In a marriage? Beyond duty, beyond say, okay, we have children, we have to do it together, society expects us to.
There is a certain beauty for two human beings to weave their lives as one. There is a certain sense of… See, if you have to really be with somebody, you have to give up a part of yourself in some way. So the English expression falling in love is very significant. You can only fall into it. You can't stand in it, you can't climb in it, you have to fall into it. Falling means some part of you has to go to accommodate another, which is a good thing for a human being to do, that he doesn't think too much of himself. One who thinks too much of himself cannot be in a love affair. Somewhere you have to surrender a part of yourself to be in a love affair. In that sense, it's a very beautiful thing.
But in this weaving, as you called it, is it possible for you to be with another person that becomes, and I'm just guessing here, that becomes the conduit towards your own self-realization? Is that a possibility? Could that be a basis of relationship?
It is definitely a possibility, but it's a risky possibility.
Okay, I understand that, right.
You may just get entangled and lost in so many complexities of a relationship rather than finding the ultimate nature. I'm not saying it's not possible, it's very much possible. So that is why in India, when we got people married, we tied what's called as a Mangal Sutra. Today it's just a thread, a ritualistic thread. But that's not how it originally started. There is a way of taking a strand of energy from you and your partner and tying it up in a certain way, so that beyond your logic, beyond your understanding, beyond your psychological, emotional and physical needs, somewhere deep inside two beings are tied together, two lives are tied together. So, a lot of people cannot understand how these two people are together, because nothing seems to be common in them, but still they're like one, because on another level they're tied up. This can happen because of the physical proximity and the intimacy of the whole relationship, but even before you start it, we have a whole technology as to how to tie up two lives together. So we always said that this is a lifelong thing, you cannot break it. If you break it, you have to tear two lives apart. Because it was not just an arrangement, it was a kind of a union. If you listen to all the mantras chanted in the weddings, they're always talking about this, how these two beings are being welded together, okay? So anyway, you come from Bollywood, and there was a time 30 years ago, 25 years ago, every song was talking Janam, Janam, Janam. Now they're talking expiry date.
Okay.
So the whole context of relationships have changed, which I feel is sad, because the profoundness of being with another being has been lost in this. In the name of freedom, in the name of choice, actually you're becoming horribly compulsive. It's all about yourself. When it's all about yourself, you will not know the beauty of life. So these marriages which were done in a certain way was never about you, it was always about the other person. Both the people, if they think like this, it's about the other person, it's a beautiful place to be. If only one person thinks like that, it becomes exploitation. If both the persons don't think like that, it's just a compulsive relationship. Me trying to extract something from you, you trying to extract something from me, it's a conflict situation all the time.
When we are through with our hormones, nature has very little use for us. Nature likes to reproduce itself, it likes all its components. When we're done with the hormones and we're done with the chemicals, why does nature give us the potential to still exist in this body if it's done with us, if we've done what nature required us to do?
No, reproduction is just only one requirement,
Okay.
okay? Reproduction is not the whole of life. It is only one requirement. Nature compulsively wants you to reproduce because it wants to perpetuate itself. It is neither a good thing nor a bad thing. It is just a certain necessity of nature. See, suppose the whole world turned ascetic, then we would be forcing everybody to get married, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, I'm asking you this question with a very specific ideas, because everybody today talks about, and everybody's confused about what health really is, because the messages coming across are so different. Health and longevity are the two things everybody talks around, and sometimes I feel when I look around myself that what is your value, A, living beyond a certain age, but B, living beyond a certain age, is there something inherent in us that actually could keep us healthy, or do we always need outside help from doctors and hospitals? Because if there was something inherent in us, then maybe I would believe that nature has an intention to keep us alive.
Nature didn't have an intention to keep you alive, you would be dead.
Yeah.
Even now, you're alive not because of the medicine that you're taking or the hospital consultation that you're having, not because of the health checkups, because nature still intends that you should live. The life process is capable of living, that's why it's living, not because of medicine it's living. Medicine can play around a little bit, cannot create life as such. See, there are many ways to look at it. I'm trying to put it in a very simplistic way.
No, you don't have to. I'm simplistic enough, so don't worry. Because if there's no way to put it in a simple way, then say it the way you want, and I'll ask you the simplistic, naive question again.
The thing is, this very body that you carry was created from within, isn't it? You provided raw material from outside, but the creation process happened from within. So obviously, the source of creation is within, or the manufacturer of the body is within. So if you have a repair job to do, would you like to go to the manufacturer or to the local mechanic?
Okay, all right.
If you have access to the manufacturer, that's the place you would like to go. Because a manufacturer knows much more about this machine than a local tinker, isn't it? But if you have lost access, then you have to deal with the local tinker. So, to generate health, trying to fix it from outside is a very effortful process. If you keep access to the innermost core, health will be a natural phenomena, it's not something that you have to manage. It's not at all something that you have to manage from outside, it's a very wrong perception.
So the idea of spirituality being the staying in touch with your inner self and your relationship to all of existence naturally promotes health without you having to think about it. Is that true?
See, today it is scientific knowledge, common medical knowledge, that every cell in the body is programmed for health.
Okay.
Naturally, it is programmed for health. If it is programmed for health, why would it work against you? See, if you get an infection means it's kind of an invasion from external organisms. They need to be dealt with. It's a war situation. You need to do some chemical war on them and kill them and do whatever you have to do to recover from that situation. That's a different thing. But more than 70% of the ailments on this planet are chronic. That means they're self-created. They're created within your own body by your own system. Why would this system, which has an immense desire to exist and survive, would create ailment or something against itself? Somewhere some fundamentals have gone off, isn't it? So if you keep in touch with the innermost core, which is the source of creation, which is the manufacturer of the body, which is the maker of this body, health is not even something that you have to think of. Too much… what I see is, especially as societies get affluent, health is I don't know, the way they're talking about health in the Western societies, it's like a full-time occupation. Day in and day out, from morning to evening, they're only talking about their health. This is the major conversation everywhere, isn't it?
And young, 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds
Yes.
are talking about, in a competitive way, I'm healthier than everybody else.
Health is not something that you need to discuss or talk or aspire for. If you keep the system in a certain way, health, it exudes by its own nature.
Would you describe that way as a meditative way?
I would like to, but I would avoid the word meditation because it's so badly abused word. If I say meditation, everybody has their own ideas of what is meditation. So I would say, if you as much as know what it means to simply sit here, absolutely still, everything still within you, for 2 minutes in a day, you would be perfectly healthy. Just 2 minutes. Man is ill only because he does not know how to be still.
And if I'm perfectly healthy, then how does death come?
You must die healthy. You must live healthy and you must die healthy. So if I'm healthy, how will I die? Health has got nothing to do with death. Death will happen when your life energies lose their vibrance. They will lose their vibrance because right now they are vibrant in a certain way because of a certain software input. This software traditionally, we call this as prarabdha. Prarabdha means a certain dimension of your karmic information. It has a certain amount of information latched onto your life energy, so it keeps working in a certain way. Once this software has worked itself out, or that much information which is allotted is worked itself out, which is the prarabdha karma, then the energies start becoming feeble. If the energies become feeble below a certain level, they cannot hold on to the body, they have to leave the body. Or if it becomes intense beyond a certain body, it cannot hold on to the body. So only in a certain frequency of intensity, your life energies can hold on to the physical body, otherwise they cannot stick to the body.
Or the body is incapable of holding that intensity.
Let's put it the other way around.
Yeah.
It is just that an energy which is beyond a certain intensity refuses to be bound by a body. An energy which is below a certain level of intensity is incapable of being housed in a body. So if it becomes feeble, it leaves, that's called old age. But most people don't die of old age, they die because they broke the body in some way. That's dying of ill health. You might have broken the body by crashing your car or breaking up your heart
I'll probably go because of that, yeah.
either a broken heart or a rotten liver,
Yeah.
we don't know what But in some way you made the physical body inhospitable for life. So life leaves.
See, you're making a big distinction between the body and life is something else, and that's something that everybody struggles with.
No,
So
no,
let's…
you tell me, did you accumulate this body?
Yes, I did. By
So,
eating.
I'll ask you again the same question. Whatever you accumulate can be yours, cannot be you, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So I'm definitely making a distinction between what is you and what is your body, because it's an accumulation. I'm not disputing whether it's yours or not. For now, we will not dispute it. A day will come when that'll also come to dispute,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So now that you mention it, let me ask you another question, because I travel a lot in the West and I have no answer, and I find it a silly question, so I'm going to ask you a silly question. What happens to that energy once the body is gone? Is there individuality after the end of the body? Do I exist as I? Do I have a soul? Is there reincarnation? Or is it just my ego that is saying, actually, even when I let my body go, there is an I that still exists? But if that I then forms part of the larger universe, then it has no identity. It's a question and I can't answer it to people, so would you answer it for me so I can tell people that I'm quite wise now?
I know what you'll do with this So, essentially you're saying you want to know what happens after death.
Yeah. I'm just making a more intellectual argument about it, that's all, but the fundamental question is that.
What I would say is, some things you know best only by experience.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You're not ready for the experience. So you just want to know for entertainment. Maybe they make a movie on it, or just to talk in the next party that you're in.
Yeah.
It could buy you friends,
So humor me.
it could buy you audience.
So humor me a little bit and let's talk about it a little bit.
Okay. Right now you're looking at me. If you close your eyes, you cannot see me. But you are still there, isn't it? So right now, is it you who is looking at me? Or is it your eyes which are looking at me? So it's you who is looking at me.
Yeah.
Through the window of your eyes, you're
Yes.
looking at me.
Yes.
If you close the window,
Yeah.
do you still exist?
I still exist.
So, you are clearly saying you are much more than the body, isn't it?
Right. But maybe that's my memory of you, of what I saw.
No, not what you… whether you see my image or not, that's not the point.
Hmm.
But you are there, isn't it?
I'm there, yes.
So you are clearly saying, I am much more than the body.
Yes.
And you also know very clearly that this body you slowly accumulated.
Yes.
Or in other words, what you call as my body is just a bit of loan that you have taken from Mother Earth, just a piece of the planet. She's pretty generous.
No, it's very generous.
She's pretty generous with the loan. But when the time comes, she wants to collect it atom by atom. So what is being perceived as death right now is people who don't want to repay the loan, these are all people who don't want to repay the loan.
All right.
Most,
Okay. Like the
most people
transaction analysis of that.
most people who have taken loan, unless there is a law to compel them, they wouldn't want to pay back the loan.
Right.
It's a general social tendency in the world.
Okay.
So, you've taken a loan from the planet, you don't want to pay back. When the time to pay back comes, they're all terrorized. After all, you're just paying back a loan. But why the terror is happening is simply because you took a loan and after some time you thought, I am the loan.
Right.
Quite a ridiculous situation actually.
I can see that. Okay.
See, now I hold this pebble in my hand.
Yeah.
Initially I say, this is my pebble, I'm not willing to give it to you. After some time, I start thinking, this is me. Now when the time comes that anyway this pebble is going to be taken from me, I am being terrorized because I am being taken away. You are not being taken away. Only the food that you gathered, the piece of planet that you gathered in the form of this body, the planet is asking it back. If only you were aware this is only something I've accumulated, not intellectually. Every moment if you are constantly aware that I am not this body, this is just mine, all right. This is just a gathering. I've accumulated this, I'll use it, and when it's necessary, I'll drop it. If this awareness was there all the time in your life, death would be just change of clothes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually more simple than that.
Yeah.
So what happens after? Okay, I paid back the loan. The question is only willingly or unwillingly, but whichever way, the loan gets taken. So when the body is confiscated, if you're a yogi, you will pay it back gracefully.
Yeah.
If you are an ignorant person, they'll confiscate your properties because you're illegally holding it beyond a certain time, they'll confiscate. So what happens after? Your body, as you know it, physical body, has to go to the earth because it belongs to the earth. But there is a subtler body which is like a scaffolding. Only because the subtle body is there as a scaffolding, you can build this gross body. You eat a banana, it becomes body, you eat a piece of bread, it becomes body, you eat a brinjal, it becomes body, because there is a subtler scaffolding. This body that you see, the physical body, is only gathering around the subtler body. So when this body falls, the subtle body, which is generally referred to as etheric body or whatever else, is still on. It still has some information, but the important difference is, when you had a physical body and a conscious mind, you had a discriminatory capability. So once the body falls down along with your thinking mind, logical mind and a discriminatory aspect of the mind is fallen, there is no more discrimination. You only happen by tendencies. So still there are certain tendencies. Why so much care in every culture, particularly in this culture, that at the moment of death, if a man is dying, no matter what your relationship with him, you try to utter the God's name or you try to create the right kind of atmosphere for him. Even if he's your enemy, you say Ram, Nam, Satya, whatever, you know, whatever simple things have been taught to the people, but something to create awareness and pleasantness around him because you want him to leave well. Because at the moment of leaving, in case he is in a certain mode, whatever the mode is, let's say he is in fear mode right now. Now once he loses the discriminatory mind, now there is no control over the fear. See, many times fear arises in your life. Because of your discriminatory mind, you'll say, that's okay, but that it's not like this. You'll reason and try to get out of it. If there is no discriminatory mind, it just snowballs into paranoia. Paranoia not like as living human beings know. Paranoia which grows into a million, billion folds because there's complete absence of discriminatory mind. But suppose you create pleasantness at that moment of death, now this pleasantness also multiplies into a millionfold over because there is no discriminatory mind. A child is eating chocolate. very sweet. He has no discriminatory mind. His discriminatory mind is not strong enough. Okay, I've eaten 2 chocolates, it's enough. No, he wants to eat 2,000. Whether it's sweetness or bitterness, pleasantness or unpleasantness, all of this can take on a big proportion if only there is no discriminatory mind. So even when people are living, very little of their discriminatory mind they're using, mostly they're functioning by tendency, which is unfortunate. But once you've shed the body, there is no other way. You will only go by tendency. Unless you've reached a certain level of awareness where you can carry a certain dimension of awareness with you. Otherwise, whatever is your quality will snowball into something very big. If it snowballs into unpleasantness, we say he's in hell. If it snowballs into pleasantness, we say he's in heaven. So heaven and hell are not geographical places, it is a state that somebody gets into. Because once the discriminatory mind is removed, smallest pleasure can multiply into a heavenly proportion. Smallest unpleasantness can multiply into a hell-like situation because the discriminatory mind is absent.
And then reincarnation.
You want to come back now?
Yes.
So if there is substantial amount of information still stored, which is the karma, the karmic substance is still strong, then once, suppose you left out of feebleness of energy, that is, you became old, energies became feeble and it rested for some time. So this kind of life energy just rests for some time without too much activity. But suppose the energies did not become feeble, but you broke the body by accident or suicide or somebody shot you in the head or somebody broke your heart, whichever way you broke the body and you left, energies were still intense. Now, this will take a long time for it to become feeble without the body and the mind. If you had a regular body and the discriminatory mind, let us say you would have worked out your karma in the next 10 years and made the energies feeble. But now that you don't have a body, these 10 years may telescope into 1,000 years. So this is the reason always they told you should never die of suicide, you never should be murdered, accidental death is bad, because now your limbo situation is long, very, very long, because you have no discriminatory mind, we don't know which way you will roll, and the chances of finding another womb are very little because you're in a certain level of intensity you cannot find. So unless you come to the right level of intensity, you are not suitable to take on a new body. So if you died of old age, energies became feeble, everything is fine with your body, you went to bed and you never woke up. Such a person may get back into another womb within 48 hours. But a person who died by breaking his body, either by accident or otherwise, this person may take we don't know how long, depending upon what level of intensity and how much of the information is still there, unworked out. We are going into areas which needs much more elaboration if it needs to be properly understood. Speaking just like this is not good. That's why we always joke about it and skip, we never talk about it because it will lead to all kinds of imaginations, unhealthy imaginations.
Lead me to believe in spirits and ghosts.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Which is not needed.
Not needed.
Because then people every dark corner they see, they'll start seeing things.
Yeah.
And you can make horror movies and make money because a lot of people have wild imagination anyway.
Or tendencies.
No, they're all existing by tendencies, not by that is the whole difference. When we talk spirituality, we're essentially talking about moving from compulsiveness to consciousness. Functioning through tendencies to functioning through discriminatory process. That is the key from bondage to freedom.
Okay. I understand why we need to change this topic, because it can get very… it is much more complex than we're talking about now.
And it's too simplistic the way I'm putting it right now.
Yeah. Because then people will just say, oh, there is or there isn't. It's not there is and there isn't at the same time. But maybe I can ask you, okay, this is also complex because a lot of what you said today and you talked about a duality, you talked about the nature of Shiva being contradictory, you talked about everything existing in contextualization or contradiction. One little word on the nature of duality, the nature of our duality.
The interview is the basis of duality, because there are two. There's a question, there's an answer. This is duality. But actually there isn't. Only if you look at it on the surface, this is true. If you look deep enough, there isn't two. But if there wasn't two, there would be no interview.
Yeah.
There would be no football game, there would be no marriage, there would be no nothing, okay? So the oneness of the existence is the basis, but the play is always dual. There's nothing wrong with duality as long as you know it's just a play.
So if I was to create a character in a film called Universe, the universe would say I'm one, but if I have to play, I have to be two.
Yes,
But then essentially I'm one.
yes.
But I don't exist till I play, and therefore I have to be two. Without one taking more power than the other, because otherwise I would never get back to
See,
be
that's
one.
the whole problem. The human mind is dualistic. So if you say there is oneness and then there is dual, immediately the human mind says, so oneness is ultimate superior, duality is a fallen state. This is the whole Adam and Eve story, okay? This is a rudimentary logic, which is splitting the world into two.
Yeah. One last question, Sadhguru, and I will not say this interview ends because I will come back for more, because there can't be an end to this
There's
interview.
no end to
No,
this.
there is no end. And one last question, because I know people will say, well, why didn't you ask him about stress? And I'll say, well, because I don't understand, I cannot define stress. There's a lot of things that, a lot of the questions people ask me, and they will know that since I've been interviewing you, they say, but I know that we get addicted to keywords, but is there, is there a definition that we can assign to the idea of stress?
I must tell you this. When I first went to United States a few years ago, wherever I went, everybody was talking about stress management. I really couldn't understand this, because in my understanding, we manage things which are precious to us, okay?
Okay.
Our business, our family, our money, our wealth, our children, we manage all these things because these are all things precious to us. Why would anybody manage stress? I couldn't get this. When this word was thrown at me everywhere, stress management, I said, why manage stress? It took me a while to understand these people have concluded that stress is a part of their life. Stress is not a part of your life. Stress is just your inability to manage your own system. Stress is not because of the nature of your work. The Prime Minister is complaining of stress, the chaprasi also complaining of stress. In between, every other person saying his job is stressful and unemployed are stressful. They don't have anything to do, that also they're stressful. So you're suffering your job, if I get you fired, will you be joyful?
No.
No. So stress is not about your job, obviously, isn't it? It is just that you do not know how to manage your body, how to manage your mind, how to manage your emotions, your energy, your chemistry. You do not know how to manage anything. You are functioning by accident, so everything is stressful. You get into your car without a steering wheel, or you get into your car, if you turn this way, it goes in the opposite direction. You will be stressful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So right now, that's a kind of mechanism you're driving without understanding anything about it. Just by chance you're blundering through life, you will be stressful. So stress is not because of the nature of the activity that you're performing, not because of life situations. Stress is simply because you do not know how to manage your own system. What is stressful for you, somebody is breezing through it, isn't it so?
Correct.
Stress is not situational. It is just an inability to manage the inner situation, not the outer situation. Essentially, the quality of our lives change and transform not because we change the content of our lives, Only because we have changed the context of our life. Someone is living a beautiful life does not mean he's doing something different when he wakes up in the morning. He also goes to the toilet. He also brushes his teeth. He also does the same things. But somehow his life is magical and beautiful because of the context. This could have happened to people when they fall in love with somebody. They were doing the same thing, suddenly they're in love with someone, suddenly everything is different because the context of their life has changed. But then once they fall out of it, again the context of their life changes and it becomes miserable. Now, changing the context is something which is voluntary, which is just something that you can do willfully. Changing the content may not be possible as you will. Because to change the content of your life, you need permission from the situations in which you exist, isn't it?
Yeah.
But to change the context of life, you don't need anybody's permission. It is not at all situational. So on a certain day, 3 men were working in one place. Another man came by and asked the first man, "What are you doing here?" This man looked up and said, "Can't you see I'm cutting stone? Are you blind?" This man moved on to the next man and asked, "What are you doing here?" That man looked up and said, Something to fill my belly. I come here and do whatever they ask me to do. I just have to fill my belly, that's all." He went to the next man, the third man, and asked, "What are you doing here?" That man stood up in great joy and said, "I'm building a beautiful temple here." All of them are doing the same thing. But their experience of what they're doing is worlds apart. Every human being, every moment of his life could be doing whatever he's doing in any one of these 3 contexts. And that will determine the quality of his life, not what he's actually doing. How simple an activity you're doing or how complex an activity you're doing doesn't change the quality of your life. With what context are you doing changes the quality of your life, isn't it?
Completely. Okay, Sadhguru. I hope this is just the beginning and I hope you give me the opportunity to come back with a lot more questions.
Definitely.
Thank you, thank you. So Sadhguru, this is the biggest bull I've ever seen. But I mean he's magnificent, he's aggressive, he's massive, and he looks ready for action, pointed straight into the Dhyanalingam, the temple. Tell me about him.
This is Shiva's vehicle, his automobile parked outside. Do you expect him to ride some mild scooter? He rides a mean machine.
Right. Okay. Can I touch him?
Yeah.
What's he made of? I mean, I can see this is metal, it's steel.
See, this is a very unique way of making this. Each piece is not more than like 6 to 9 inches.
Yeah.
Small pieces all put together. Probably this is the only bull in a temple made like this. And inside it's filled with sesame seed, turmeric, vibhuti, the sacred ash, and certain types of oils and some sand, some certain type of soils inside. This will make the bull reverberate with a certain energy. When people come and they're with the bull, it radiates a certain field of energy. So it's been prepared in a certain way, the whole concoction. This is taken in some 20 tons of material inside. It's full inside, it's like a tank filled with these substances and it's sealed, it's forever.
And if I walk around the bull, I should feel some kind of energy.
You should.
If I open myself to it.
Yes.
If I open myself to bull. Okay.
No, usually it's not the bull that is being referred to that way, it's only what the bull drops, okay? So,
Yeah.
don't pick up the dung, just the bull is good.
And why a bull and why is the bull… I mean, I understand, so if it's Shiva's vehicle and Dhyanalingam is about Shiva, so what? He's waiting for Shiva to come out and say… What? Tell me more about
He's not waiting for him to come out and say something.
Yeah.
He's in waiting. Nandi is a symbolism of eternal waiting. okay? Because waiting is considered as the greatest virtue in this culture. One who knows how to simply sit and wait is naturally meditative. He is not expecting Shiva will come out tomorrow, but he will wait forever. So that quality is the essence of receptivity. So Nandi is Shiva's closest accomplice because he is the essence of receptivity. So before you go into the temple, you must have the quality of the Nandi, that you simply sit. You're not trying to go to heaven, you're not trying to get this or that, you go inside and simply sit. So just sitting here, he's telling you, when you go into the temple, don't do your fanciful things, don't ask for this, that nonsense, just go and sit like me. So that's the message he's giving you.
And waiting and anticipation are two different things, I assume.
He's not waiting in anticipation of
He's
anything,
just
that's what I'm saying, just waiting.
Yeah.
He's not anticipating anything, he's not expecting anything, he's just waiting. That's meditation, just sitting.
Okay.
So that's his message for you. Simply go inside and sit, alert,
Yeah.
not sleepy, alert and
that's-
sitting.
Yeah. So you're saying, Sadhguru, that the bull is sitting in what we would call meditation?
See, people have always misunderstood meditation means some kind of an activity. No, it's a quality. So fundamental difference, why? Because this is a meditative temple, this is not a temple of prayer. Prayer means you're trying to talk to God. You're trying to tell Him your woes, your expectations, your whatever else. Meditation means you're willing to listen to God. You're just willing to listen to the existence, to the ultimate nature of creation. You have nothing to say, you simply listen. That is the quality of Nandi, he just sits. Alert, this is very important. He is alert, he is not sleepy, he is not sitting in a passive way. He is sitting very active, no expectation, no anticipation, no looking forward to anything, but full alertness, full life, just sitting. That's
Jeez.
meditation.
Active and not passive, meditation, not expectation, nothing, just waiting
Yes,
and…
just waiting, not for anything in particular. Whatever
being
is
aware.
reality, if you just wait without doing your own thing, then existence will do its thing.
Yeah.
So meditation essentially means you are not doing your own thing. The individual person is not doing his own thing, he is just there. So once you're simply there, the larger dimension of the existence, which is always in action, you become aware of it.
And part of it?
And of course, you're anyway a part of it, you become
Yeah.
aware that you're a part of it.
Okay.
Even now you're a part of it. But becoming aware that I'm a part of it is meditativeness. So Nandi is the symbolism of that, he just sits. Sitting here reminding everybody, you must sit like me.
So does Nandi have a female form or is male and female both?
No. He's one of the Ganas, so he doesn't belong to male-female category.
He's beyond that.
Yes.
So can we go inside the Dhyana Lingam? Yeah. Sadhguru, that's very powerful inside. I just walked inside into this space where all the brahmacharis are chanting. There's something special about their chants. It kind of hits you right here, it's kind of energizing and power. So what is it? What's a brahmachari? I mean, we understand in Hinduism, brahmachari means denial, and you often said it's not about denial, it's about gaining something without denying it. So tell me about it. And I have to say, they're both men and women in there. It's not like… they're not like monks, where all the women have been put up in a nunnery and the monks are in some monastery. They're all there.
For example, somebody is out to climb Mount Everest, okay? He prepares for years, probably for a lifetime he prepares. And then he is in the harshest of climate, denying himself every pleasure of life, of comfort, of family, of society, everything that normally people want to have, he denies himself all that to climb the mountain. But do you really believe he's denying himself? Or is he making another possibility which you can never imagine real in his life. So that's brahmacharya. The word brahmacharya literally means, Brahman means the ultimate, charya means the path. You are on the path of the ultimate. Or in other words, you are somebody who is not willing to settle for small things. So anybody who has created anything worthwhile in their lives have naturally denied themselves lot of simple pleasures other people are having. When you're making a film, maybe you're not eating well, maybe you're not sleeping well. Are you taking your afternoon nap, sitting with your wife, enjoying the siesta, having dinner with them, with your family? Are you doing all this? Everything you deny yourself because you want to create something, isn't it? Isn't that true with every man or woman who has created something worthwhile in their life? The same with brahmacharya, they are on the path of the ultimate. Because of that, their attention is not diverted to other things that people think are valuable.
So, what's the ultimate?
See here, if you look around, there's brick and stone, or rather mud and stone and trees and plants. This is creation. But now if you look at this, from the same soil this tree is coming, throwing out… right now there are no flowers, but it throws out wonderful fragrant flowers. From the same soil a mango tree will come and throw out mangoes. From the same soil you have come and making movies From the same soil I have come and I am a guru. So there is something here which can make this mud into a tree, into a fruit, into a filmmaker, into a guru and into a billion other things. Don't you want to know what it is? Don't you want to experience what it is? And if it was somewhere in heaven, I'm not interested. But if you eat a banana, that banana becomes a human being within you. There is something here which can transform a rice grain or a banana or a piece of bread into a human being. This is the ultimate source of creation.
Yeah.
Don't you want to know what it is? Don't you want to experience? Don't you want to know the power of it, the beauty of it, the joy of it? So these are people who have had a taste of that and now they want all of it. They don't care whether they eat or not. They don't care whether they drink, smoke and enjoy other simple physical pleasures that other people are addicted to. They have had a taste of the ultimate. Now they want it all, they won't settle for anything less.
Okay, now I understand that till you've experienced it, it's an experiential sensation, or more than a sensation. Talk about the ultimate.
See,
What is the ultimate?
my work as a guru is just to give you a taste of that ultimate, so that your life goes into your tizzy and you go crazy and you want to go for it. You've had a taste, now you can't stop.
So your work is to drive people mad.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Because if people slip through their life in the name of comfort, in the name of security, they're wasting their life. They must go all the way. This is not my desire, it's their desire also, because today you have a desire to fulfill this. If that happens, you want the next one and the next one and the next one. If you carefully look at your desiring process itself, you will see you are not willing to settle for anything limited, isn't it? There is something within you which doesn't like boundaries, there is something within you which is longing for the ultimate always. So this is not my idea, this is not my philosophy that you should seek ultimate. You're anyway seeking ultimate in unconscious ways. I am saying, if you seek in unconscious ways, you'll always remain frustrated and the chances of finding it are remote. It's better to seek what you want in a conscious way, in a focused way. So brahmacharis are those people, they're also seeking just what you're seeking, but they're seeking it 100% consciously.
So, what is the ultimate? Is there other words? I mean, I'm looking for words.
What is ultimate? See, whatever we look at, we can only look at the way you understand it right now, okay? If I say something which is not in your understanding, now I'll be compelling you to believe me or disbelieve me. I don't want to go into such obscenities. I think it's obscene to demand that you must believe me.
Okay.
So right now in your life, do you see that when you stand here, what you call as myself, actually you gathered over a period of time?
Yeah.
In terms of your mind,
Yeah.
it's a huge heap of impressions. In terms of your body, it is a heap of food that you have eaten. So you gathered this. What you gather can be yours. Can it ever be you?
No. Then what is the you beyond yours? What's the…
So, you're existing here
Yeah,
without even knowing what is me.
yeah.
So this me, right now we will go this way, this me is the ultimate. This me is not a simple me. This me can make a piece of bread into a human being, a banana into a human being. This is not a simple thing. This same me which can make a banana into a human being also created the whole cosmic scape. It's not a different me. So the choice is just this, either you can exist here just as a piece of creation, or you can exist here as the very creator himself. That's the ultimate, for now. There's more to it, but for now.
So why does everybody expect a guru to perform miracles? Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. At one point, if I go and say I met Sadhguru and I had this amazing experience and…
You must tell them he is a real miracle because he eats a banana and he makes it into a human being. You must tell them. What better miracle do you want?
Right.
So they have not understood the magic of eating a banana,
Yeah.
or anything for that matter.
So what you're saying is everything is a miracle in any case.
See, either there are two ways of looking at life. If you have eyes, if you look at it closely, everything is miraculous because there's not one single atom in the existence that you can fully explain. So it's miraculous.
Yeah.
Another way is, everything is happening, the whole physical existence is happening between cause and effect. Everything can be explained if your perception is deeper. Either nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. In your mind, if one thing is a miracle and another thing is not, you are in ignorance.
Yeah. So even miracles are intellectual ideas that are boxed, separated
See,
from…
anything that you cannot understand is miraculous for you.
Yeah.
If you did not understand how electricity works, and if I just touched that wall and light came on, you would think either I am the messenger or the sun or himself, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, right now, I can take you there and show a great miracle for you. You will see mercury solidified. Mercury is to be liquid.
Yeah.
According to modern science, you can solidify mercury only at -32°C. I'll show you mercury, which is solid. You can measure it weight to volume. You will see it's pure mercury, because there's no other substance on the planet which can weigh as much as mercury, so you can't fake it. You cannot fake it. You will see just a 23-inch tall ellipsoid, which weighs 682 kgs. Nothing else on the planet can weigh that much, unless I imported something from somewhere else, which I have not. This is just pure, plain mercury. But it's solid, in room temperature. Is that miracle enough? But it's not a miracle, I can explain the science of it.
Now I know this is not what it's about, but for us mere mortals, it's very fascinating sometimes when I hear that in the brahmachari way of life, just the physical abilities, the energy levels that these people have, all the brahmacharis have, and what I've heard about, there's that mountain right there, and which would probably take me, what, 6–7 hours?
No.
8 hours?
You could do it in 3.5 hours. They'll do it in 35–40 minutes.
So, because I've seen them, while I've been here, I've seen some of them, well, yeah, other than the volunteers and the the meditators, but I've seen the brahmacharis, they never sleep. When I go to bed, when I'm forced into bed because I stay awake a lot at night, they're still awake. And then when I come in the morning, they're like as fresh as anything, teaching us yoga, working, walking, working everywhere. And then I try to play football with them. And they're the most energetic football players. I mean, okay, so they're younger than me, but I've seen football players, the kind of energy they exhibit without sleep, without rest in this brahmacharya. And then I saw one of them eat, and I said, "What are you eating?" And he said, "Well, and it was just soup and a few grains, and that's all they were eating." So tell me, what is it? Tell me about that energy that comes from this way of life, the way of lifting your energies. What does it do to you physically?
See, the energy that you have right now is not all about the food that you eat. Sunlight, air and water you drink is actually contributing for more than 60% of the energy that you have.
Yeah.
I think there is a whole misunderstanding I know if I say this, it would be very, very controversial because humanity has invested so much in the other direction. We are always thinking of energy as nourishment,
Yeah.
food nourishment. People are constantly calculating how much iron, how much magnesium, how much this, how much that.
And every day there's something new.
Yes, I'm not saying that's not needed. Definitely that's the chemical ingredient of the body, it needs to be taken care of. I'm not trying to belittle the nourishment. Nourishment is definitely needed. But that is not going to determine the energy levels that you have. And your ability to transform what is food into what is a human being and what is energy and consciousness is what makes you who you are, your ability, the efficiency. Now, every machine that you create, you are no more just trying to create big machines, you're always thinking about being energy conscious, isn't it? Now, you are driving an Ambassador which was giving you 4 kilometers per liter, it was okay. Now it is a crime. Because you understand this is not the way to live. Now today you want 40 kilometers out of a liter. So it's a question of energy efficiency. So, brahmachari is into various types of sadhana, certain internal maintenance of the system. The way it is managed is, nothing is wasted. It is very eco-friendly, very, energy-conserving methods through which you generate a huge amount of reserve energies within you. You don't sleep, you don't eat, it doesn't matter. If I don't sleep for 3 nights, you will still not see any difference in me, I'll be carrying on. This is not some superhuman. See, first of all, we need to understand this. This is not about being superhuman. This is about realizing that being human is super. Being human is not a simple thing, it's a tremendous thing. So right now all the symbolism you see, Shiva always has snake on top of his head, this is to indicate, see, snake is seen as the fundamental energy. Kundalini is symbolized as a snake in India, in the yogic systems.
So tell us why, because in the West, snake is something threatening and almost evil. It's… because it has this kind of sometimes sexual connotation, sometimes evil connotation.
So the first aspect is, the snake, Shiva is not holding at his feet, on top of his head. This is to indicate that his energies have reached the peak, okay? That is the essence of asceticism, that his energies have hit the peak. Energies have hit the peak means his perception has also hit the ultimate. That is why the snake on top of the head and the third eye are symbolic. You understand? Third eye means your perception has hit the highest level of perception. Everything that can be seen, you have seen in the existence. That is mainly because you are energized in the highest possible way. If your perception has to evolve and enhance itself, the most important thing is your energy has to evolve and enhance itself. So the whole sadhana that the brahmacharis are doing and all the yoga practitioners are doing is to evolve, refine their energies in such a way that their perception is enhanced and the third eye opens. Third eye opening does not mean you'll have a crack in your forehead.
Okay.
It just means that your perception has gone beyond the dualities of life. You're able to see life just the way it is, not the way it is necessary for your survival. You're able to see it just the way it is. So about the snake, see, even according to the Christian whatever, what do you call that, theology, Adam and Eve, first man and first woman were there, that is the story. Even if you go by that story, they were a dumb couple. They didn't know what to do with each other. All right? So the snake came and made them eat the fruit of knowledge. Anybody who makes you eat the fruit of knowledge, is he evil or divine, tell me?
Yeah, I would say that's divine.
And by eating this fruit of knowledge, life got initiated on this planet. The whole life process became possible only because of the snake tempting Eve to eat the fruit of knowledge and share it with Adam. Only one who is out and out against the fundamental processes of life can and will say snake is agent of the devil. One who initiates life has to be agent of the divine, isn't it? So here we always saw the snake as the agent of the divine. There is no temple in India without a snake. Somewhere there will be a snake to indicate this is the agent of the divine. And above all, Shiva keeps it on top of his head, not at his feet, not somewhere. a crawly creature on top of his head because to indicate that this is what initiated the life process.
Religion and spirituality, you keep saying it's two separate things. Religion is
See, we do not know what's religion in this part of the world. We have no religion here. Because here, in India, for example, there are 36 million gods and goddesses, okay?
Yeah.
As if that's not enough, see, now I'm creating a new one.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited, Sadhguru is going to create a new goddess. He's going to give birth to a new goddess, everybody's excited. Any other part of the world, they would have killed me. Isn't it? New goddess That's the whole thing, because here we clearly understood God is our making.
Yeah.
Everywhere else they propagated, you are God's making. No, the way you think about God, the way you project God is essentially our making, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a fundamental force, but all other aspects are our making, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, we made it in every possible way we like it. 36 million, I feel is not enough. I feel every human being should make his own God, the way he can relate to. The problem is, people want to organize this and run a huge setup of power. So, talking about one and rallying the whole world behind that one God has become an important thing. If all of us had our own gods made by us, as we can relate to, you could never organize it.
Yeah. So, God becomes your fingerprint, each one different.
Yes. And above all, see, in this culture, we never held God as the highest. God is only a stepping stone, He's only a tool for you to reach your mukti or your ultimate liberation. Freedom is the highest goal, not God.
Sadhguru, can we sit here for a while? Because you have more energy than I do.
Okay.
Okay. So Sadhguru, you said this many times, that the highest goal is freedom. Now, people understand freedom in different ways. The two words, the three words that you used, liberation. So liberation from what? Freedom. So everybody, as you yourself said, it's contextualization. Freedom from what? And when you say ultimate freedom, so does that mean that you get into freedom that has no context, so therefore it becomes ultimate? And from that, the question, you use the word duality. I know I'm struggling, I kind of sense them, but I cannot see them clearly, so I want you to talk about that, these words.
See, generally the word freedom, before 1947 in this country, if you said freedom, people only thought if the British go away, we are free. That was our idea of freedom at that time. I'm sure those last couple of decades, the word freedom, azadi, just meant English should go away.
Yeah.
So English went away. Now are we free? Not really. Politically free, yes, but in no other way we are really free. So, freedom may mean different things to different people depending upon the context of their individual life at a certain moment. But essentially, do we understand that we are living within certain limitations of life? Leave the political, economic and other aspects of freedom. Just as a human being, just as a piece of existence, do you see you're a limited entity? You're a limited boundary, isn't it?
Yeah.
But do you also see there is something constantly longing within you to be little more than what you are? So you're seeking freedom, but you're seeking it in installments. So if I bind you, if I imprison you in a small cell, 5 by 5, let's say, you'll fight for your freedom. If I release you into 10 by 10 cell, you'll feel wonderful, but within 24 hours you realize, this is not it, this is not freedom. If I release you into a larger compound and say, you are free, do what you want here but you can't go out, once again, the moment you feel the boundaries, you want to break that. So however big the boundary I set for you, the moment you are able to feel the boundary, when you don't feel the boundaries, you think you're free. But the moment you feel the boundaries, you want to break it. So there is something within you which cannot stand boundaries. Or in other words, there is something within you which wants to become boundless. What can be boundless, if you look at it? All physical forms must have a boundary, isn't it? The boundary, a defined boundary is the basis of a physical form. A physical form can be small or big, but can never be boundless. So there is something within you which is longing to touch a dimension which is beyond the physical. So there is something within you which is longing to be spiritual. So spiritual does not mean looking up or looking down or praying or going to the temple. Spiritual essentially means you are in an experience which is beyond the limitations of the physical. That means you're in a boundless space. This longing is always there in every human being. Either you're approaching it in installments or you're going consciously for the ultimate.
So why in my mind is the ultimate so blurred? Why can't… I mean, I can imagine, you talk about cage and you talk… the moment you talk about measurement, I can see it. You say you're imprisoned by this galaxy, I can somehow say, okay, it's a galaxy. Now you talk about being imprisoned by nothing. This concept of being boundlessly free sounds brilliant, so just talk to me about it. How do I aspire to something that I'm unable to imagine?
That's why you never aspire to something that you're unable to imagine, that you do not know. If you want to become free, you never think of freedom, because freedom is just an idea. It doesn't exist. It is just an idea which has no substance in it. So when you want to become free, you don't think of freedom. You only look at the ropes which are binding you. You cut these ropes which are binding you, there is some sense of freedom. Then you realize there's another set of ropes binding you. You cut that, there is freedom. But then you notice there's another set. It doesn't matter how many sets of ropes are binding you, there must be a place where if you cut enough of them, nothing binds you, right? There may be… the number may be big, but still it cannot be innumerable, isn't it? It cannot be infinite. Only freedom can be infinite. Bondage has to be limited. The very nature of bondage is limited, isn't it? Limiting is bondage. So bondage cannot be limitless. Only freedom can be limitless. This is not all semantics and ideas. In terms of life's experience, you don't waste your time talking about or thinking about freedom or the ultimate. You look at what's binding you now and see how to transcend this. This is growth.
And what actually is… so I'm looking at myself, what's my most limiting factor? I mean, that you could probably say most people, that's what they're bound by. Let's say, I mean, I'm a filmmaker, I can go anywhere in the world, I can travel, I can do anything. I have,
Yes, but if I make you walk around for 1 hour, you'll have to rest. 2 hours, you have to go to sleep. That's a limitation. How would you… what kind of a filmmaker would you be if you could be like me, stay awake for 5 days at a stretch, don't bother about eating, sleeping, nothing, you can just focus on what you have to do? What kind of a filmmaker would you be? Maybe you would have all the actors dead.
Yeah, well, I've been accused of that, but then my film becomes my limitation. So, boundless, because I get very passionate about filmmaking and then I forget to sleep and eat, but then at one point it becomes a film and the film is over. This idea of complete…
No, I want you to just imagine yourself. So, we're just talking about tangible things so that it's easier to, see it. Suppose you had no physical limitations. If you have to go to the bathroom, you have to eat, you have to sleep. Suppose you could just be on, 100% focused for 3 days at a stretch. What would be the quality of your film? I want you to imagine.
Yeah, it would be absolutely brilliant.
It would be something else than what you're doing right now, isn't it? So, why is that possibility not being explored for now? So if you explore that, then you will see that's fabulous, but there's still other limitations. But those limitations are not relevant now because we are still in these limitations.
Okay, so my body is my own limitation, that's what you're saying?
Body is a limitation, mind is a limitation, emotions are limitations. They're also possibilities. See, your body is your possibility.
Sadhguru, what I'm asking you, and I know you're not saying it because you think it sounds like madness, but let's go into madness. The promised land, let's talk about it, because we've talked about this. We've talked about in the context of Shiva, we've talked about in the context of absolute freedom, we've talked just in terms of absolute, we've talked about you have to overcome duality. What's there? I know it's difficult, but if I was going to convince my friends to follow this
It's not difficult, it could be… in your present context, it could be scary.
Okay,
See,
even
right
if it's
now,
scary.
for example, when we say Shiva, most people, everybody can look at Shiva the way they want it. That's why all these many forms. Shiva is a Bholenath, an innocent child, you can play with him whichever way you want. He's a fiery god, he's a Nilakanta, he's Sadashiva, he's a million other things. Why all these things is, so that everybody can relate to it as they want. But essentially what the word Shiva means is, that which is not. That which is creation, that which is not is Shiva. So what is it that which is not? Why are we looking at that which is not? Well, that which is not is the basis of creation. It is the empty space of the existence which is the womb of creation, isn't it? So we say Shiva is the basis of everything. This is just the ultimate physical sciences. Let me not use the word ultimate. The highest level of physical sciences expressed in a beautiful dialectical format. So Shiva is that which is not, that which is still and that is not. Out of that pops out creation, because he came in touch with a certain energy which we are referring to as Shakti. Whenever Shakti just passes by, boom, he roars. You call it a big bang. We call it, he rises as Rudra. He roars and he creates his first form, which is an ellipsoid. From that springs all creation. Well, the physical sciences are 100% in agreement with this today. You're saying it's a dark energy. Shiva has always been referred to as the dark one. So what you're referring to as Shiva is just that which is not. We are not talking about a god who is sitting up there. But why the form? The form is because the first yogi is also called Shiva because he realized Shiva. What is perceived and the one who perceives it, we don't see any difference between the two. So when we say Shiva, one moment we'll be talking about the first yogi, the Adi yogi whom we worship for all the knowledge he's given us. And that aspect of Shiva which is limitless, boundless, nothingness, we are seamlessly moving from this to that because that is what a dialectical culture is. That's how life is. Life is constantly flowing from logic to illogic, illogic to logic, masculine to feminine, feminine to masculine. People who think their lives out, they're always in conflict, they're not able to figure what's the nature of life, they're not able to experience life because they're trying to stick on to one thing. This is like, you stand on the right bank of the river and you think the left bank is wrong. If you try to eliminate it, you'll eliminate the river and the right bank. Life is happening not separately, it is all happening in, it's all entangled in each other. Entangled is not the word, it's intermingled with everything and everything. So, the whole culture evolved like that. We will be uttering Shiva, in this sentence if I say Shiva, I'm talking about the boundless nothingness. Next sentence I say Shiva, I'm saying yogi. It's for you to figure what I'm talking, because if I go on explaining this and that, then I'll be separating the two. Because in my consciousness, in my perception, the one who perceives and what is perceived are not different. He becomes a yogi, the word yoga means union. He becomes a yogi because he has experienced the union of the existence. He has become one with the existence. So we don't refer to the existence, the basis of the existence, and the one who has known the union of being with existence as two separate identities, though they are two.
So, one possibility, and as you say, it's just one possibility, is that the ultimate is nothingness.
It is.
What Buddha describes as shunyata, or is that the same thing?
See, Gautama goes about using negative terminology because the moment you use positive terminology, people will fly off into imagination, wild imagination will happen. If you say God, people will imagine a man sitting there and you can go and sit in his lap and all wonderful things happening to you, all the nonsense. So Gautama very consciously is constantly using negative terminology. He says shunya, he says nirvana, he says anatma. These are all his words, anitya, anatma. These are all complete negative terminology. The Western cultures use positive terminology because they're so terrified of the negative. But the positive means nothing without the negative, isn't it? So the yogic culture uses both of them together. Seamlessly we move from this to that to this. Shiva is the most wonderful man. At the same time, he's the most horrible man. He's an ascetic, but he's a great householder. He's a drunkard, he's the peak of alertness. He's always intoxicated, but he is the peak of alertness. Because this is the way existence is. It is neither this nor that. Both of them are in play all the time. So in the yogic culture, we use both positive terminology and negative terminology. Buddha used only negative terminology because he's afraid that if you use positive terminology, people will fly into wild imagination, which is a wise thing, in a way.
This is a question I'm asking on behalf of the people who are unable to speak to you directly, okay? The economic collapse has taken place, the world's gone into a tizzy. I've just lost my job. I have a mortgage that I can't pay. I have 3 children that I can't educate. I have a wife who's saying, what's going to happen to our life? And my pension has all disappeared, as I thought that in future I'm going to get this pension. My beautiful life, if this is the United States, my American way of life has just collapsed. And now you're talking about contradictions, you're talking about nothingness and…
Oh, you asked for it.
I asked, I agree. So now I'm asking behind, what would this mean to me? When I am so confused and so my everyday existence is how am I going to feed and still have my house and feed my children, what would this do for me? Why would I go this way?
See, one thing you have to acknowledge is, today we as a generation of people, never before the survival process of a human being was as well organized as it is today. If you have the money, if you go to the superstore, you can buy everything that you need for next 1 year and not step out of your house. It's that organized. Never before was this possible. Every day you had to go out, get your food for that day, not knowing where the food is. It is too organized to a point that we are becoming lethargic, we are becoming unrealistic with the life processes. So the economic collapse, I think it's improper to call it a collapse. The economic reality. From the lie of a bubble, we have come down to reality.
Okay.
This is Chinese wisdom, okay? I'll tell you. So some Americans were complaining about the economic collapse and what's happening. So a Chinese man took him and took a chair, put it in front of a mirror. Said, do you see there are 2 chairs? Said, yes. Then he removed the mirror. What is left? Only 1 chair. So this is what you're complaining about. Always there was only 1 chair. If I put up 2 mirrors, these 1 chair will become 10 chairs. If I become 5 mirrors, they'll become 100 chairs. But that's not the point. The real thing is, there's only 1 chair. There's only 1 planet, there's only that much resource, there's only this much. Rest is all exaggerated nonsense, okay? I don't think we should wait for it to collapse. If we are wise, we must pull it down ourselves. I was being interviewed by one of the national channels just before the economic collapse. When India's share market was touching 21,000 something, on that day I was in Mumbai, they wanted to interview me. They said, what do you think about this? I said, it's unwise to have share market running at 21,000. I also keep general, attention towards what's happening in the economic spheres. If you ask me, India's share market should be at 14,000. But we would like to make ourselves little bigger than who we are to attract foreign investment, this, that. So if it's running at 16,000, 16,500, sufficient exaggeration to impress the outsider. But if you run to 2021, it is not good. And this is like, you want to go to an interview today, you're only 5'8", you want to wear 2 inches heels and go. It's all right. You want to look little taller than who you are. Suppose you wear 3 feet heels and go, you're on stilts, very soon you're going to fall on your face. They didn't like it.
Okay.
Okay? And it collapsed. Within about 20 days after I spoke, it just dropped to 11,000 or 10,000 or whatever, 9,000 I think.
Yeah.
So you're walking on stilts, you're bound to fall. Little bit of exaggeration human beings want to do to impress each other, it's all right. 2 inches, 3 inches heels, all right. If you go for too much, it's not fair to yourself or to the people around you, isn't it?
But the higher goals that you're talking about,
Huh?
let's just talk about that in the context of…
The individual experience,
Yeah.
that human being
Yeah,
who has lost something,
yeah.
the human being who is caught in all the mechanics of
I mean, you could
economies,
say, well,
international
solve
economy.
that. We can say to him or her that you can solve that before you even think of higher goals, spirituality. Or we are saying, spirituality, higher goals will actually help you. And he'll
No.
say, how?
Yeah, let's look at that. See, right now what you're talking about is certain upheavals in your physical situation. One thing you need to understand is, do what you want. Even if you're a superhuman being, outside situations will never happen 100% the way you want them. Never ever. Even if there's just 2 people in the family, still it doesn't happen 100% the way you want it, isn't it?
Correct.
And not a single person in this whole planet has ever happened 100% the way you want them. Not your spouse, not your children, not your boss, nobody. So outside is always going to be like this. Some things happen your way, some things don't happen your way. But the inner reality of your experience is 100% you. There's only one ingredient, that's yourself. At least this must happen the way you want it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if this was happening in a peaceful and blissful way within you, economic high or economic collapse wouldn't mean anything to you. You just have to adjust a few things around you, that's all. It doesn't change the quality of your life as such because you are anyway blissed out. Always you're blissful by your own nature. If there is money, you will drive, there's no money, you will cycle, which is more healthy. I mean, you will do whatever the situation demands without any great struggle about it. Right now, because you have not fixed the interior, you are trying to fix your interiority by fixing the world around you, which is juggling. Even when things were going fine, I'm sure you were still stressed. When you have a job, you complain of stress. So shall I get you fired? Will you be happy? Will you walk on the beach joyfully? No. Now you'll be depressed because you're fired. So whichever way you suffer, this is not because of the situation, because you have not learned how to conduct this human mechanism. How to keep this being, that you have not paid attention to. Nothing happens your way in the world, that's not the problem. The problem is you yourself are not happening the way you want yourself to be. If you did happen the way you want yourself to be, for sure you would keep yourself blissful and wonderful, isn't it? Outside would be just a play. You conduct it to the extent you can conduct it. Never before another generation of people have known these kind of comforts and conveniences. You are living better than your father, your grandfather, anybody. Unless your grandfather was a Maharaja or something, definitely you're living better than your father and grandfather, but you're still complaining because it's not happening the way you think it should happen. So, if it happens any better than the way it is happening right now, your economy, you will have no planet left. I'm glad economy has collapsed, because ecology will improve when economy collapses.
Right.